Welcome back to our BRBC training series. I'm Izzy. Today, we're diving into the detailed mechanics of completing the BRBC form correctly. We'll cover buyer information requirements, how to handle business entities, agreement terms, and property specifications. These details might seem mundane, but getting them wrong can void your agreement or create serious legal problems. Let's jump in. Section 1. Buyer Information and Entity Issues. Individual Buyers, the Basics. For individual buyers, this section seems straightforward, but there are still pitfalls. Ensure you have the complete legal name exactly as it will appear on title. Middle initials matter, spelling matters, and if they're married, you need to know how they plan to take title. But here's where it gets complicated: business entities. Business entities, critical requirements. When your buyer is an LLC, corporation, or trust, you cannot simply have ABC Company LLC sign the BRBC. An individual person must sign with their title, such as John Smith, Manager, or Sarah Jones, President. Before you show a single property to an entity buyer, you must obtain authorization documents. For LLCs, you need the Articles of Organization. These documents show who has authority to bind the entity in real estate transactions. For corporations, you need the Articles of Incorporation and possibly corporate resolutions showing who can sign contracts. For trusts, you need the trust documents or at minimum the signature pages showing who the trustees are. Here's an example that happens frequently. You meet with Robert Willard from ABC Development LLC. He seems knowledgeable and professional. You assume he has authority to sign for the LLC and start showing properties. 3 weeks later, when you're writing an offer, you discover Robert is just an employee with no signing authority. The actual manager is out of the country, your BRBC is invalid, and you've wasted weeks of work. Verify authority before showing properties. Escrow will eventually verify signing authority, but catching these issues early saves everyone time and frustration. Make it part of your initial buyer consultation. Say something like, "Since you're purchasing as an entity, I'll need to see your Articles of Organization to ensure we have the right person signing our agreements." This prevents delays later in escrow. Section 2. Agreement Terms Exclusive versus Non-Exclusive. Understanding the default setting. By default, BRBCs are non-exclusive. This means the agreement only covers properties you show or write offers on. If your buyer finds a property through another agent, online, or on their own, you're not entitled to compensation from that transaction. Exclusive representation. With exclusive representation, you're entitled to compensation on any property your buyer purchases during the agreement period, regardless of how they found it or who showed it to them. My recommendation is to base this decision on your relationship with the client and your business model. Non-exclusive works well when you're working with a casual buyer who's just starting to look. The buyer wants to work with multiple agents. You're not investing significant time in education and consultation. The buyer has a very specific property type or location that limits your involvement. Exclusive representation is appropriate when you're providing comprehensive buyer consultation and education. You're investing significant time in market analysis and property research. The buyer wants your full attention and dedicated service. You're helping with new construction or off-market opportunities. Have this conversation up front. Explain the difference and let the buyer choose based on the level of service they want. Don't make the decision for them or try to sneak exclusive representation past them. Section 3. Property Types and Locations. Property Type Specifications. The default setting covers single-family residential properties. But if your buyer is interested in multifamily properties, commercial real estate, or vacant land, you need to specify this in the agreement. This isn't just a formality. If your BRBC only covers single-family residential and your buyer ends up purchasing a duplex, you might not be legally entitled to compensation. Location requirements. Be specific. You cannot write SoCal or NorCal for location. The form requires city or county level specificity. Write Orange County or Los Angeles metro area or San Diego County, not vague regional descriptions. Here's an important consideration. Only specify areas within your service area where you can properly serve the client. Don't agree to cover the entire state of California if you only work in one county. Your professional duty requires you to provide competent service, and that means knowing the markets where you claim to work. Multiple location strategy. If your buyer is considering multiple areas, list them specifically: Orange County, Riverside County, and San Bernardino County. This clarity prevents disputes later and ensures you're compensated for your work regardless of where they ultimately purchase. Section 4. Critical Form Completion Details. Documentation Management Best Practices. Keep your agency disclosure form and BRBC together. These are paired documents that establish and define your professional relationship. Separating them creates confusion and potential compliance issues. Calendar your BRBC expiration dates with at least 5 days advance notice. This gives you time to discuss extension with your client and prepare modification documents while the original agreement is still valid. Remember, you cannot modify an expired BRBC. You must create an entirely new agreement. Missing this deadline means starting over with new signatures and potentially losing legal protection for work already performed. Common completion errors. Here are mistakes I see regularly. First, leaving compensation sections blank or putting 0. We'll cover compensation details extensively in our next video, but never leave these sections incomplete. Second, being vague about property types or locations. Specificity protects both you and your client. Third, not getting proper signatures from entity buyers. An unsigned BRBC is worthless, but an improperly signed BRBC from someone without authority is equally problematic. Fourth, failing to provide copies immediately. Your buyer should leave your first meeting with signed copies of both the AD form and BRBC. Quality control process. Develop a systematic approach to BRBC completion. Review buyer's entity status and obtain authorization documents if needed. Complete all sections of the BRBC before the meeting. Present and explain both AD and BRBC forms together. Verify all signatures and dates are complete. Provide copies immediately. Calendar expiration date with advance reminder. File originals properly for DRE compliance. We've covered the critical details of completing BRBC forms correctly, from handling business entities to specifying property types and locations. These details matter because they determine whether your agreement is legally enforceable and whether you'll be compensated for your work. In our final video of this series, we'll tackle the most complex and controversial topic: compensation structures. We'll cover commission rules, payment scenarios, negotiation strategies, and the critical G2 checkbox that can protect you when deals go wrong. I will also address common questions about working with previous clients, handling new construction, and best practices for documentation management. If you're getting value from this series, please share it with other agents in your office. Subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our final video in this series. And remember, proper BRBC completion isn't just about compliance, it's about professionalism and protecting your business. I'll see you in the next video where we tackle compensation, the topic everyone wants to understand but many agents struggle to navigate confidently. At GoDucks Realtor,